Hi, and welcome to the Selected Tech podcast, brought to you by a group of 4 MVPs doing webinars, sessions, and interviews on all things SharePoint, Office 365, and the Microsoft AI ecosystem. Their motto is learn, share, reuse. And here they are, Albert Jan, Rick, Stefan, and Tommy.
So, hi, good evening all. Next up is going to be another webinar, and we're going to talk you through building our Azure static website. So what we did lately is we built our own selectedtech.show website where we actually use Hugo. So you might see some tweets. There are quite a few other MVPs actually switching to static websites. So we thought of doing a quick webinar on how we actually created our very first site. So first things first, what is a static website? A static website, Hugo 101.
Everybody knows who we are, so Hugo 101, what is a static website?
A static website. A static website is a web page. So you would go to Wiki. This is actually the definition that you will get. And the idea behind this is that whatever you store will actually also be whatever you represent to your user. So where a dynamic web page, you usually have a web application running, generate on the fly or get from cache the data that you're actually looking for, probably having a database with content. A static website is actually exactly what a user sees will be whatever you have in storage. So if you look at what it is, it's basically HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So there's not going to be database connections. There are some options to actually inject stuff into your page, but what you will serve to your users will always be going to be HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So if you're considering why you wanted to do that, well, basically speed. It is probably the fastest option that you will have. You will see that sub-second page loads are doable if you do a static website. So from a speed perspective, it's really, really fast. Then from a security perspective, because it is HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, there's no database interaction, and that means there is less to hack. So whenever you generate your site, whenever you store your site, it's actually going to be what the user sees, and there isn't not that much options to actually hack. So it's a more secure solution.
Yeah, they can bring down your server, but that's about it, I'm guessing. So there's no SQL injection,
so they
stuff like
still
that.
do DDoS to actually bring down your server. But if you would do Cloudflare, especially they do support static sites. So you should be good there, and the chance that our block is going to be DDoS is not that big, I would say. But you never know. Third one, simplicity. It's once you've set it up, it's fairly easy to maintain. There's not going to be plugins that you would have to update or versions that you would have to upgrade because there was a security patch released, something like that. It's just all you have to do is provide new content and it will be generated. Obviously, your static site generator, that's the only component that might have a new version, that might bring performance improvements, that might change things, and thus might break things. So there is actually one component in this all that you will have to keep an eye on whether there are new versions and whether you will have to upgrade. Then fourth, the developer experience is pretty okay. So you can write plugins for WordPress, pretty much the same if you want to write templates for plugins for your own static site generator. There are quite a few out there. We actually chose for Hugo. The reason that we chose for Hugo is because we found some really nice blog posts saying that it was really, really fast with loads of content. So we played around with it and we decided that it was worth to actually do things with. So if you look at how it would actually work, your static site generator actually grabs some content, then grabs a template and generates your website. So if you would look to Hugo, what you actually get is you will get your content in Markdown. Your Markdown content will be something like a title, a date, and some content. Depending on your template, there might be additional metadata that you would store, things like the slug, things like tags. That's all things that Hugo can use. Then you've got your template, and your template is a bunch of HTML files that will contain, with a specific notation, references to your content. So as you can see, I've got my HTML file where I reference to the title and the content that actually will be grabbed from the content. Your static site generator has some documentation that explains what you can use. It uses that, generates your website. So if you would look on how our setup would look, we have chosen to store our content and our template into Git, and we did a continuous integration, continuous deployment, release pipeline. You could store it to Azure, use your pipelines from there. But basically what the pipeline does is it calls your static site generator on each check-in. It gets your content, gets your template, runs, and it creates the output that you need. That output can then be pointed to your Azure blob. That Azure blob will be read by an Azure CDN, and your website will actually reference the CDN. So what we do in our continuous integration pipeline, and we actually generate our site, we then push it to blob, and we tell our CDN, hey, there is a new version, purge everything you know, just to be sure that we've got the latest version of everything, and we host it. Now, thinking of a cost perspective, to actually run this, you'll probably use around €1 a month of Azure consumptions, because you need a storage account. You will need to have a blob available. That blob has to be marked as a static site. And that's basically it. You'll use your CDN profile, so you have a few cents to actually run the CDN, but that's all the costs that you would have.
Super cheap.
So it's pretty cheap. Now, with that, let's have a quick look on how we set things up. So first, you want to run it locally, probably.
Yep. So what I did for our site was, if you have any questions, there's a really cool quick start. But actually, it's pretty simple. So the first thing you need, of course, is the static site generator. So I just downloaded the executable file. There's a license and a README and a Markdown file with it, but it's just the executable. Why do you need that? Of course, you have to develop your static site locally. Then there's a generator which you can run, and the generator will, just like in SharePoint Framework, or if you do an Office add-in or same things, you will just generate the content for you, of the content, the layouts of your structure of your product, of your project. So it will, scaffolds. I couldn't find the word. Thank you, Appy. So this will create everything. The theme is in here, our static content, our content itself. So what's in the content for us, it's about page, contact page, episode page. Let me open up with Visual Studio Code. It's a little bit simple. There we go. See, here are all our pages, and as you can see, what you said, Appy. So this is the metadata, and this is the text, and that will already be all be meshed together into one simple static site. To run it locally, you can just do, I think it's Hugo start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hugo serve, I guess, or server.
There we go, good to go. And as you can see here, localhost 113. So if I should go to, should be running. There we go. This is our site. So this way you can create your template, put everything in there, and it's in Markdown, so it's super easy. There's nothing special, nothing fancy. You can put in some HTML if you want to, some text, and the rest is all Markdown. So super simple to use. Now, that's not the important stuff. Let me kill this one just to be sure.
So one shout out to Elio. We actually created a plugin to easily insert tags. So as you can see, you've got your metadata, really cool. But imagine adding tags to your Markdown file can be a bit confusing, or adding categories, because there's no type ahead for that. So he created a plugin, Front Matter, and it actually allows you to add categories, tags from a sort of thesaurus. What it does is it generates a file for you that contains all the available tags, and then if you would add a new tag, you can actually search or add it easily. So really interesting plugin if you want to write Markdown from Visual Studio Code.
We add tags and add categories, but we'll put a link to that one in the show notes.
Definitely.
Yep. Open it up just to be sure. There we go. The repository that we have it open for later review. So once we have all this going, we have of course our selected tag GitHub side. Why do we do that? Because yeah, first of all, we're used to it, and I can change something, Tommy can change something, Albert-Jan can change something, or Stefan can change something. So this is all running here. Then of course, so this
but in principle, you would be good if you just copied now the structure of your folder to your Azure blob, or?
Yep. If I take
So
this
you
and
just-
I copy that
yeah.
one to the Azure blob. Now the Azure blob, so we have actually our site consists of 3 components. So we have our storage account, which contains a blob, our CDN, and of course for a CDN you have to create a CDN endpoint, which then serves, because you can have multiple endpoints for one CDN. So the magic stuff that happens here is if you create a storage account. I think everybody knows that. If you want, just create resource and then storage account. There we go. This should be this one. There we go. The first one you find. Let's get back. The magic happens when you turn on, where is it? Azure CDN, custom domain, blobs, lifecycle. I think it's on the properties, right?
Yeah, you have to go to blobs.
There we go, static website.
Yeah.
So this is normally
okay.
disabled. You
Yeah.
just put it on enabled. This is default index.html and 404 because you have to do that. And then, of course, we can link this to our CDN. This is our CDN. Now everybody knows our CDN endpoint, but there's no problem. And you have to create a container, and it has to call. You have to call $sign web.
Yeah.
And then,
So,
as you can see here, everything's in
so
there.
what I did now, if you enable it, it will automatically generate that container for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I created myself and then enabled it. It will probably know it if you already created it.
Yeah.
And this is what you can see here is everything that's being rendered. If you do,
Okay.
it's not this one. This is the what's in Git, but this still has to run to the Hugo build mode because here are more files. As you can see, here is also CSS. Here are fonts, images, itemized JavaScript. That's all being generated by the Hugo thing. Yeah, if you want to build it and copy it directly, then you have to, start Hugo server. There's a trick. I build static pages. There's some trick.
You can just use Hugo help.
Yeah, Hugo, and you're good to go.
Okay,
There are also a lot of
public
themes.
folder, and that the content of the public folder, you just can copy also to your Azure blob.
Yep.
Cool.
The problem with this one is, of course, this would be directly hitting our blob. And yeah, okay, you would want some CDN in front of that because there are tons of reasons why you would use a CDN. So we created
The main reason is probably to have a fancy URL.
Yeah, that's of course also one of the cases. So let me open up my resource group. So this is our CDN. We just say, okay, let's add an endpoint. We give it an endpoint. We open that one up. We can give it a custom domain, which we did now. As you can see here, this is our endpoint hostname. So this is the blob storage where it's coming from. This is the CDN. And then here you can say, okay, custom domain. We enabled a selected text or show, and Azure will automatically deploy for us a certificate so that we run on HTTPS, which is also super cool. It will do some also magic stuff, compression. This is a default Azure CDN. You also have a, what are the other ones? Akari, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Verizon has one.
Yeah, Verizon has one, and let me see what's in there.
A few options.
Yeah. This one's from Microsoft. Where are the other ones? Yeah, there are more. So we have this one, and you just activate it, and you're good to go. Now, okay, that's not everything because, yeah, if we update something, we don't want to deploy it ourselves. So we created a release pipeline, which is also super simple because, so I have my Azure DevOps repository, which is empty, no files, which is weird. I'm not used to that. Normally all my files are in here, but this time they're in Git. So if you create a build in Git, you can just say, okay, I want to, in Azure DevOps, you can just say, okay, my code's in Azure DevOps or in GitHub, no problem for Azure DevOps. You just have to authenticate. So it knows it's in selected tag.site. We used a YAML file for this one. So if anybody wants it, it's also in this one, in the repository. So you can just copy paste ours. What's in here? Okay, if we update the master, then it's triggered. It's a hosted environment, of course. We don't have our own build server. And then there's a custom task which says, okay, Hugo, run Hugo, generate our blog output. The source, of course, our source directory. Destination is artifact staging directory, and of course, Hugo has to know which is your URL of your site because it's being generated at that moment, and then we publish those. So then we have in our artifact staging directory our stuff there, but it has to be pushed to the blog, and the blob is the latest release. Let me just edit it one. So whenever it's triggered automatically, whenever there's a new, so continuous deployment trigger, whenever there's a new build available. We don't do any approval task and stuff like that. We don't want that. And there are just two tasks. One is copy all the files to an Azure blob storage, so everything in our drop folder. Copy it to the web container like we just saw. This is our storage account. And then we have some Azure CLI stuff to process the endpoint. It's not really required. I've noticed it that, okay, it will refresh itself in the end, but this will make it easier for us because it's faster refreshed at that moment.
It also depends on how you configure your CDN and how long it will cache your stuff. So you could say, I want to cache it forever or for a year. Then it does make sense to purge things yourself.
But, I didn't change anything from the default. Let's see what it is. Caching rules. CDN caches content. Yeah, it does a lot of stuff. So let's put everything on default. So we'll see if we ever do an update from our. If we notice that there are some changes required, we'll mention that in the show. Yeah. But for now, it's running. So if I go to now, it would be fun if the site was down. No,
it's static. It's always running.
Yeah, it's always.
It's really, really fast.
Yeah, I think I should normally have a. No, it's at work. Oh no, here. See.
Yeah.
Page fully loaded after 1,775 milliseconds.
That's not too bad.
No, and it's if I do a full refresh, so Control F5, same.
Yeah.
So almost so it automatically knows that it's going there. It's a lot of processing apparently.
Yeah, probably YouTube videos that are loading some content.
Yeah, it's all the images and the YouTube videos that I have to run, and then of course the comments, which we still don't have any comments on, but okay. So if somebody wants to have a comment, you can always leave a comment. No, it's not.
Well, that's interesting, right? Because you do have a static site, but you still have options to do things with comments. Like you just load in Discuss and you would have full functionality around commenting. So that's really, really powerful.
Yeah, because this would normally, you would require a database. Where else are you going to post a comment? So you would need a database for this one. But of course, there are vendors enough and third-party tools enough which can do that for you. So you can have a comment system. You can have there's lots of Hugo plugins which can fix everything for you. So as you can see, we already got automatic video play, which is super. Don't need to link to YouTube or something. Yeah, the video is on YouTube, but it's automatically running, so it's pretty cool. Categories, contact, everything works. So you can even send a contact and an email and message. So which is also pretty good. So it's not, there is more functionality than just the static HTML, CSS, and JavaScript like we learned in the first lesson of IT, how to build a website with 6 lines of code. So it has a little bit more functionality. Well, it's pretty cool, no?
Yeah.
True that, yeah.
It was good, and I don't know if I can see the cost. No, not here, I'm guessing. Yeah, I would have to drill down in my subscriptions, would be a lot. Maybe I can see.
Yeah, you can still do things with Google Analytics if you want, or you can just use any other engine that captures your data traffic.
Yeah, this normally, this stuff. See, this holds my blog, which still runs on WordPress and our CDN. So let's see. A lot more. So my blog, I just got refreshed. It's 41 cents already, and selected tag was now less than 1 cent.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And I see September 30th, so it's getting refreshed.
Yeah.
So it's super cheap. Super cheap. Select CDN.
And super fast.
Yeah.
Super fast, super cheap. So I still have to change my blog if I have some time left. But I think Abby, you already did your blog, right?
I did my blog and I was pretty happy with the results. Took me probably 2 nights, one night figuring out what template and what engine to use. And then there is a plugin that you can actually use to export all your WordPress content to Markdown, then do a bit of find and replace magic to make sure that you've got full URLs, that your slugs are still working. But, well, I think I've got like 200 blocks, so maybe an hour to figure things like that out. And that was it. So fairly easy. I did a blog post on that, so we'll mention that in the show note as well.
Mention that in show notes. Yeah, because this was an empty site, so this was pretty easy to get started with. So if you're starting blogging or if you're thinking about blogging, try this one. You're up and running within the hour.
Yeah.
And then if you have an existing blog, then it will take a little bit longer, but still doable.
Yeah. Well, Scott Hanselman actually did a really nice YouTube video on how to set up your CDN with a static website in Azure. So that's a nice video to watch as well if you want to configure everything yourself.
Okay, we can add that to the show notes as well. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff being written about it, so you can find if you have an issue, it's easy to find the guidance, or if you're stuck with something, you can always find something.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Then I think we had everything. We're going to locally pipeline, deploy to Azure, and then the WordPress data. So yeah, that depends on WordPress always. It depends on how your WordPress is configured. I wouldn't build a if you have a website that sells stuff. Yeah, that's not really a good example for a static website, but.
Yeah, no shop site or something like that.
Well, to be honest, there are a few shops actually doing static product pages. And like discussed, loading in their inventory and allows you to actually order stuff. And the reason behind that is to get data from a database is expensive, and well, storage is cheap. So they just generate product pages as static HTML for all their products, and then use
anybody ID.
Yeah, do some smart stuff to make sure it's not available if it's already sold out and stuff like that. But there are some nice samples out there.
Oh, cool! You can even do that. Okay, that's really taking off.
It is. Oh well, it's a nice trend. So we'll see what the next big thing is going to be.
Oh, cool. Okay, guys. Then we'll see you next time. I'm guessing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I still have to add a.
For next time.
Something, add new releases here that we can see that. Some room for improvement still.
There's always room for improvement.
That's true. We're always busy. Okay, guys.
True.
Okay, then I'll see you on the next webinar. Thanks for the explanation, Happy. And
thank you.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to check out the show notes at selectedtech.show to get all the mentioned references. And one more thing, please tweet about the podcast and give them a 5-star review. This really helps the guys a lot. Thank you and see you next time. Bye.